She didn't lower her voice. She didn't hesitate. She didn't pull me aside into another room or wait until later. She said it clearly, loudly, so everyone could hear. You contribute nothing. For words that cut through Christmas music, through laughter, through the clinking of glasses and the warmth that was supposed to fill that room. The room froze. Not the awkward kind of silence where someone coughs and people shuffle their feet. The kind where 40 people stopped breathing at the same time. Where forks stopped halfway to mouths. Where conversations died mid-sentence. I felt the heat rise from my chest to my face. My throat tightened like someone had their hands around it. My hands started shaking, and I shoved them into my pockets so no one would see. 40 relatives. Christmas Eve. My parents' living room, decorated with lights and garlands, and all the trappings of a perfect holiday. And my sister standing there in the center of it all, confident, smiling, certain she was right. Certain she had just spoken an uncomfortable truth that everyone was thinking, but too polite to say. I believed I was the failure. Everyone else believed it too. I could see it in their eyes, the way they looked at me and then looked away quickly, like they were embarrassed for me. Then my father glanced down at the phone in his hand and paused. His eyes widened just slightly, because the truth was about to speak louder than assumptions. Louder than years of judgment. Louder than every dismissive comment and every disappointed look. This isn't about yelling back. It's about letting results do the talking when words have already failed you 1,000 times. If you've ever been humiliated by family and told to stay quiet, subscribe now. Skipping this may cost you more than you think. The holiday party had been in full swing for hours. My mother had outdone herself with the decorations. Every surface covered with something festive, something that screamed perfect family gathering. The food was elaborate, expensive, the kind of spread that takes days to prepare. The guests were relatives I saw once a year, maybe twice if there was a wedding or a funeral. And my sister was claiming center stage like she always did. She had this way of commanding a room without even trying. Tall, polished, the kind of person who always looked like she had just stepped out of a magazine. She was outlining her accomplishments to anyone who would listen, and everyone was listening. Her promotion at work. Her new car. Her investment portfolio that she managed to mention casually, like it wasn't a brag. Her life was on display, and she made sure everyone saw every detail. When it was my turn to share, I said little. Just that I was working. That things were fine. That I was keeping busy. I've never been one to advertise my life, never felt the need to turn every conversation into a performance. But that wasn't good enough for her. That wasn't ever going to be good enough. Then she struck. You've contributed nothing. She said it with this tone, this mixture of pity and superiority that made my stomach turn. Like she was doing everyone a favor by finally saying what they all thought. Like she was the brave one for speaking up. My parents watched silently from across the room. Not defending me. Not correcting her. Just watching. Relatives waited for the drama to unfold, for me to either defend myself or break down. Some of them looked uncomfortable. Most looked curious. I stepped outside briefly. The cold air hit my face, and I could finally breathe again. A memory from my grandfather surfaced, something he told me years ago when I was a kid dealing with bullies at school. Never interrupt someone when they're exposing themselves. He said people reveal who they are when they think they're winning. That the best thing you can do is stay quiet and let them finish. I stood there in the cold for 5 minutes, maybe 10, letting my heart rate slow down, letting the anger settle into something colder, something more controlled. Then I returned, jaw clenched so tight my teeth hurt, eyes forward, not meeting anyone's gaze. Waiting, because I knew something she didn't. The pain didn't start that night. It started years ago. The favoritism that was so obvious everyone could see it except my parents, who insisted it didn't exist. The guilt tripping whenever I made a choice they didn't approve of. The constant judgment, the endless comparisons, the way every achievement of mine was minimized while every mundane thing she did was celebrated. I reflected on this quietly, not ranting, not trying to make anyone feel sorry for me. Just acknowledging what had always been true. I kept apologizing for things that weren't wrong. For being myself. For choosing a different path. For not being her. The psychological weight of growing up in that environment doesn't just disappear. It sits on your shoulders, gets heavier every year, makes you question everything about yourself. Makes you wonder if maybe they're right. Maybe you are the disappointment. Maybe you are contributing nothing. If this feels familiar, like the video now, there are more people than you realize who've been underestimated. The work started small. Long nights when everyone else was asleep. Financial pressure that made my chest tight every time I checked my bank account. Failures that stacked up, one after another, until I wondered if I should just give up and prove them all right. But I didn't. One small win after another. A client here, a project there. Revenue that started as a trickle and slowly, painfully slowly, became something more. No social media posts about it. No showing off. No updates for the family about how things were going. Just steady, grinding progress that no one saw because I didn't advertise it. I learned to be comfortable with people thinking I was doing nothing, with people assuming I was failing, because their assumptions didn't change the work, didn't change the results that were building quietly in the background. Evidence began to exist. Numbers in bank accounts, contracts signed and executed, emails from clients thanking me for changing their businesses. People in my industry started to notice without me forcing it. Curiosity replaced judgment among those who actually paid attention. Opportunities arrived because of reputation, not because I was begging for them. But my family didn't see any of this. They saw what they wanted to see, someone who was quiet, who didn't brag, who must therefore be failing. If you're still watching and haven't subscribed, ask yourself why you put others first. Timing is everything. By the time that Christmas party happened, I had full control. The proof was finished and undeniable. The numbers were real, verified, impossible to dismiss. But I didn't need to rush. Didn't need to announce anything the moment I walked in the door. No need for confrontation before she opened her mouth. I could have stayed quiet forever if she had just left it alone. But she didn't. She never could. She remained confident after the initial comment. Continued talking, continued holding court, completely unaware that the numbers were already set. That the room was about to witness her misjudgment in the most public way possible. She moved on to other topics, other ways to remind everyone how successful she was, how together her life was, how much better she was doing than her sibling who contributed nothing. My parents tried to change the subject a few times, but she kept circling back, kept making sure everyone understood the dynamic. The successful daughter and the disappointing one. The one who made them proud, and the one who made them worry. I sat there, barely participating in conversations, watching her perform. And I waited. The moment came naturally. My father was talking about finances, about the cost of maintaining the house, about repairs that needed to be done. He was stressed. I could hear it in his voice. The weight of bills and mortgages and everything that comes with aging and trying to maintain a certain lifestyle. That's when I stood up, walked over to where he was sitting, and handed him my phone. Read it. Just 2 words. The room got quiet again, but this time it was different. This time there was curiosity instead of judgment. He looked at the screen. His eyes scanned the numbers. And then he stopped breathing. $4.2 million. Not in promises. Not in potential. In actual verified, sitting right there money. No speeches from me. No explanations. Just fact. Her assumptions collapsed silently. I watched her face change as my father showed my mother, as the phone got passed to one relative, then another, as people leaned in to see if they were reading it correctly. Parents stunned into complete silence. Relatives amazed, some of them apologizing with their eyes for every judgment they'd made. But I wasn't done. I had repaid debts that my parents didn't even know I knew about. Cleared the mortgage on the house my father was just stressing about, completely paid off as of 3 days ago. Donated $500,000 to charities in our family's name, causes my grandfather cared about before he died. Not revenge. Proof. Proof that silence isn't failure. That privacy isn't weakness. That contributing doesn't require announcing every single thing you do. If this feels satisfying, hit like. Justice is only meaningful when witnessed. She tried to speak. opened her mouth twice before any sound came out. I didn't know. Of course she didn't know. Because she never asked. Never wondered. Never considered that maybe, just maybe, someone could be successful without performing it for an audience. I looked at her calmly. No anger in my voice now. No need for it. You assumed. 2 words that said everything. She tried to laugh it off, tried to make it a joke, tried to say she was just teasing. But 40 people had heard what she said. Had heard the conviction in her voice when she said I contributed nothing. And now 40 people were looking at her differently. I ended the conversation quietly. No yelling. No revenge monologue. No dramatic exit. Just a simple statement that I'd been holding on to for years. Don't mistake humility for weakness. Then I sat back down. The party continued, but everything had changed. People came up to me quietly throughout the night. Apologizing. Congratulating. Asking questions they should have asked years ago. My sister left early. Couldn't handle the shift in attention, the way people were looking at her now instead of looking at me with pity. My parents didn't know what to say. They tried to talk to me privately, tried to explain, tried to justify. But there was nothing to explain. Nothing to justify. I wasn't angry at them. I was just done pretending their judgment mattered. That night, after everyone left, I sat in my car before driving home. My life hadn't changed. The numbers were the same as they were that morning. The work was the same. The path forward was the same. What had changed was everyone else's perception. And that's the thing nobody tells you about moments like this. They matter less than you think they will. The validation you imagine, the vindication, the satisfaction of proving everyone wrong. It's real, but it's fleeting. Because the people who underestimated you will find new ways to minimize what you've done. They'll say you got lucky. That timing was on your side. That it's not really that impressive when you break it down. My sister will probably tell her own version of this story someday. One where she's not the villain, where she was just joking and everyone took it too seriously. My parents will probably still compare us, just in different ways now. And relatives will still make assumptions just about different things. But here's what I learned, what that whole painful experience taught me. Silence isn't submission. Privacy isn't failure. You don't owe anyone a running commentary of your life. You don't have to prove yourself to people who have already decided who you are. Sometimes the strongest move is letting results arrive quietly, on their own timeline, without fanfare or announcement. Letting the work speak when words would only be wasted. I spent years thinking I needed their approval, their recognition, their acknowledgement that I was worth something. And the truth is, I didn't need any of it. The work was always enough. The progress was always real. Whether they saw it or not didn't change what I was building. That Christmas party was satisfying, I won't lie. Watching assumptions crumble in real time, watching people realize they'd completely misjudged someone. There's something visceral about that. But it wasn't the victory I thought it would be. Because the real victory happened years earlier. It happened the first time I chose to keep working despite the criticism. The first time I didn't quit when they made me feel worthless. The first time I decided that their version of my story didn't have to be the true one. Public vindication is just a bonus. The real win is private. It's knowing your worth regardless of who sees it. It's building something meaningful even when no one's watching. It's having the strength to be underestimated and not let it destroy you. My sister taught me something that night, though it wasn't what she intended. She taught me that people will always judge based on what they can see. That visibility and value are not the same thing. That the loudest person in the room is rarely the most successful. I don't talk to her much anymore. Not out of anger or spite. Just because we don't have much to say to each other. She lives her life publicly, measuring success by applause. I live mine privately, measuring success by results. Neither is wrong. They're just different. But if you're someone who's been told you're not enough, who's been judged by people who don't know your full story, who's been humiliated by family who decided your worth before you could prove it, I want you to hear this. Keep going anyway. Do the work anyway. Build anyway. Not to prove them wrong, though that might happen. But because your value isn't determined by their understanding of it. The numbers will speak eventually. The results will arrive eventually. And when they do, you won't need to shout about them. They'll be loud enough on their own. If you watched this entire story and still haven't subscribed, ask yourself why you keep abandoning your own story. This channel is for those underestimated, until the truth showed up. That Christmas was 3 years ago. The money is still there. The work continues. My family still struggles with how to treat me now that their assumptions were proven wrong. Some days I wish things were different, that we could have a normal relationship without all this history. Other days I'm grateful for exactly how it happened, because it forced me to become someone who doesn't need external validation. Someone who knows their worth regardless of who's watching. Someone who can sit quietly in a room full of people who underestimate them and feel nothing but patience. Because eventually, inevitably, the truth arrives. Sometimes it arrives at a Christmas party. Sometimes it arrives years later. Sometimes it never arrives at all, and you have to be okay with that too. But when it does arrive, when the moment comes and the numbers are undeniable, and the proof is sitting right there in everyone's face, don't gloat. Don't make speeches. Don't turn it into a performance. Just let it be what it is. Truth. Simple, quiet, undeniable truth. And then get back to work. Because the moment passes. The vindication fades. And the only thing that remains is the work itself. The thing you were building all along while everyone else was busy judging. That's the real story. Not the confrontation. Not the public reckoning. But the thousands of hours before it, when no one was watching and you kept going anyway. When you contributed everything while everyone assumed you contributed nothing. That's what matters. That's what lasts. Everything else is just noise.